Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking your time off to come to 1 Kay Siang Road. I think probably this is the first time most of you are here. Welcome. There's a lot of fresh air here and the greeneries that greet you, I suppose. Yeah. I'm Anderson Yee, the Deputy Director for the Institute for Adult Learning. Welcome to the preview session for the Master of Science in Skills and Workforce Development. Right. The agenda today is basically I will go through with you an introduction of the Institute for Adult Learning, IAL, because I guess some of you probably never hear us before, so you probably think that, hey, is this a new private education institution? Or some of you may know, okay, I heard IAL before, but perhaps I can give you more information of what we do. Next, we'll talk about the changing landscape, the impetus of IAL bringing this program, working closely with Cardiff, one of the renowned universities in the world, to come up with this program for what purpose, right? Then we have the introduction from Professor Phil Brown, straight from Cardiff, to share with you the details of the program, and subsequently we'll end off with some administrative exercises and Q&A. All right? I like to keep this very informal so that at least, you know, you can, along the way, you got certain questions you can ask, right? So, the Institute for Adult Learning actually started way in 2002 during the then Economic Review Committee that they need an institution for adult learning and adult pedagogy, a research center. And it was set up in 2008, where we first come into existence, has a division of the Workforce Development Agency. So in short, we are WDA and we are a state board. So we are not a private company. And, how come you jump like that? Okay. So in terms of the vision, basically this is what we're trying to do. We are going to be the so-called the beacon of light for the continuous education and training sector. So whatever you do about adult learning, new skills in the CET has in continuous education and training sector, we are seen as the forefront in such information and such trend. So how do we achieve that? It's through our 3 strategic thrusts within IAL. Firstly, to inspire, we nurture a professional and dynamic CET community. Coming up with activities, we have special interest group, with our adult education network, where we come up with conversations, we come up with programs that we engage the community. So this is about developing the dynamic community. Yeah? Then we advocate, we try new things, we catalyze new implementation, execution in tech enablement in workplace-based learning. So anything that you want to try, you want to do pilots, you want to try technology-enabled learning, this is part of what we do. And last but not least, lead to develop the capability of research-informed practices using research to drive decision making. So this is what we're also trying to advocate. So IAL, in short, we stand by these 3 strategic thrusts. And when we talk about programs, if you recall nurturing a dynamic community, we have a training and adult professional competency model. I'm wondering how many of you have seen it. If you don't, do check out our website. We have a very comprehensive model that touches on AE, adult educators, training management professional, HR development specifically, and workforce development, people like in MOM, in WDA, or in Spring Singapore. Why? Because when we first started IAL, we thought that, you know, as long as we got very strong training program, pedagogy training program for adult educator, it is enough. But somehow in 2012, we realized that to enable the CET transformation to what we want them to be in the near future, actually we need different peripherals, right? That's why we included training management, people that perhaps work in a training organization, doing scheduling, doing quality assurances. So these are what we classify them as training management professional. HRD, people that is in the enterprise, business owners that is thinking, how can I enable learning to be a competitive edge for my business? So this we classify them as HRD professional, right? And last but not least, our workforce development people. People like Spring, MOM. How do we come up with policies? How do we come up with implementation plans or even communication to outreach to the people? All right, so we have a very comprehensive TAE, PCM in short, to help guide our community. So if you are a training management professional, HRD professional, you can actually use this guide to say, what are we going to do? What kind of competency I need to perform my role in this particular level, and what type of training or activity that's packed to it. So you have a very nice progression pathway or portability in these 4 job roles. And specifically, I also want to highlight and stress upon all the programs that we bring in have to fit a particular purpose. I think some of you who have done your research, you know we have 4 master's programs and many other formal programs, right? And where does Cardiff sit? It sits here, meaning the programs that Cardiff, the content, the skills that you acquire through this program actually can cater to the 4 job roles. Later, I'll share with you a little bit more. Then you see our other Masters in Training and Development and Master of Arts in Professional Education. It fits the profile of an adult educator and a part of training management professional, and so on. So all our programs has got a specific reason they are here, and we are quite unlike other private sector that we sell MBA, etc., etc. Because if you want to do MBA, you go there and do, right? You come to IAL because there's a specific need in the current system, or we identify a future skills that's going to drive workforce transformation. Got it? So, what is workforce development? When we mention this term through the past feedback, we realize, this is government side one, government do one. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, not so true, right? Because if you look at it, it encompasses activity and policy to create, sustain, and retain a viable workforce for your industry and for your business. So as a business person, as a HRD, as an AE, how do you view workforce development as an edge? Whether you are giving it as a value proposition to a customer, or you are developing a plan to showcase to your bosses if you are HRD, and if a government person, how do you develop policy that works for the enterprise and for the individual? So this is what workforce development is all about. Put it another angle. If any of you today, I hope you'll come from the TAE PCM 4 job roles, quite all-encompassing, so likely, quite unlikely you are out of it, all right? So if you come in with any of these questions, right, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the right course, all right? You are in the right preview talk. Because later what I'm going to show is something that perhaps right now in the market, there's none in the world. Because in 2012, we worked with Cardiff, we identified this is a new skills going forward. In the past 2 years, we are developing the content, the case studies, and that's how it's formed, and it's being launched. Why are all these questions critical and important? Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering a new era. All right, a new era where we are bombarded by information like mature workers face higher risks. We are bombarded by changing education and age profile, technology taking over our work. Like recently, the driverless car. You know, I would never be those. I would like to drive my car. But anyway, at the end of the day, is how do you use all this information for the best of your course of work now? Do you know? Right? And this is not only specifically Singapore, all right? This trend are across the world. It's global. It's a global trend. So unless you acquire new skills, then you can bring your organization, your practice to the next level. And of course, the buzzword for Singaporean now is skills future. What does that all mean to you in your own capacity? You can be running a training company, because just now I look at the schedule, the name list. I see some of you come from training centers, right? What does skills future mean to you? Not only to you as a training provider, But to the individuals that comes to you, how are you going to enable? How are you going to make it happen? Employers, if any of the HRD personnel is here, if you are bosses that runs your own company, how does Skills Future going to empower you to the next leap? And of course, I see some of my colleagues in the government sector. How is this what we call the macro? Is the government policy, the macro technology, the trend that's affecting us, implicate the meso, which is enterprise, and how does that motivates individual, who is the micro. And if these are all the things that you think you want to learn and want to acquire, and that's why you are here today, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you the skills you acquire in the Cardiff program will be a skills that is in demand for many years to come. Because Skills Future is not about 5 years, it's not about 10 years. It's a national movement that's going to last, I think, quite some time. All right? So with that, I'll pass on to Phil Brown, who will bring you through the Cardiff program.
Okay, can somebody ask a question while I just put this microphone on?